how do you decide what to title your sales appointment or your discovery call? How do you decide what to put over here in this box where you describe the appointment? And how do you decide what questions you want to ask people so that you set the right expectations for your appointment and you also attract the kinds of clients that you want while repelling some of the people who might want to schedule that call but really shouldn't be scheduling the call? That's going to be the subject of today's video. And I am actually going to walk you through my own process in ChatGPT for coming up with the description and the questions that you see over here. So let's get into it. Just starting off, I wanted to title my call as a strategy consultation, and I see this is really common in the industry when it comes to consultants or coaches or advisors. Usually you want to call it a strategy session or a strategy consultation or a strategy call. You want to emphasize that you're bringing more than just whatever basic service you offer. So that word I think is important. The rest of this description is really emphasizing how I'm going to help them meet their goals, and it's also designed to pique curiosity so that people think about this idea that maybe they don't entirely know everything that they're missing out on, but I'll be able, as their consultant, to be able to bring some of those things to the surface and help them see what they're missing and what's possible. So that's the overall mindset that I'm trying to get people in with this. I do think, just assessing it right now, I think it could probably be a little bit shorter. I think this is probably the ideal length for a description. Another way to look at this, though, is that maybe if someone wants to know a little bit more, then they can keep reading. If they're already sold at this point, they don't need to keep reading. So there's two different mindsets for looking at it. A lot of times in something like this, you're guessing. So let's see, I've got a first name, last name, email. This is super standard. I think Calendly has this baked into all of their appointments. The next thing you'll want is a phone number. I always ask for the phone number because I need to be able to text them or call them if for some reason they don't show up to the meeting. Because I offer web design, I want to see what they currently have for their website, but I put this in parentheses just in case they don't have one so that they don't feel, intimidated or like they can't go forward with me if they don't have one. I think that asking for the website URL is one of the easiest ways to get to know a client's business. You could ask for company name and website URL, but in reality, if you have the website, you can already figure out the company name. And you want to keep these questions really as short as possible. You don't want to take more of someone's time than they need to give you. Then I've got kind of one of my hardest hitting questions. Are you open to investing $3,000 for a website built with these features included? I ask this question because I want to set the expectation right away that obviously the service comes with a fairly industry standard cost. If someone clicks no, maybe I'll do a short call with them just to talk to them and see what they need. Maybe I could flip it. But in general, I'm looking for a yes, and most people are going to click yes, or at least not sure yet. There's an important thing with how I worded this question, and that is that I highlighted each of the things that people are going to get from my service. I don't just want to ask, are you open to investing? I want people to think about the idea that $3,000 for conversion strategy is probably worth it. Copywriting itself, if it's really good copywriting, it's totally worth $3,000. It will make you a good ROI if the copywriting's there. And same thing with a good design. I also want to point out this word investing. Usually you don't want to use terms like cost. You want to position everything as an investment, and that applies almost no matter what you do in a B2B setting. So let's take a look. Next, I've got this question: what features matter most to you? Select any that apply. Now, this is another kind of controversial question. You might say, well, we don't need this until a discovery call because it's really a details question. On the other hand, I'm also signaling to clients that I can help them with all of these things so that they'll start thinking about all the features that I can actually bring into a website to make it convert well. And a lot of people don't offer all of these things. So for me, this is a way of setting myself apart and emphasizing the fact that we can deliver a lot of things that will help them. Now, next we talk about what are you currently doing or willing to do to drive leads to your website. I added this in because I really want to set expectations super clear and in writing from the beginning that You can't just build a website and expect to get phenomenal business results, right? The website's a vehicle. You need to put gas in the vehicle or electricity in the vehicle. Somehow you need to power this vehicle so that you can get where you're going. And usually you got to run ads, or you got to do content, or you got to do SEO, or you got to do outreach. I don't know in your context if there's something like that in your business where you just need to set people's expectations from the beginning. You might think back to have you ever had any bad reviews, or have you ever had any clients complain because they didn't get what they were expecting? And if so, that's a good indicator of maybe where you want to go if you decide to put a question like this into your appointment. Next, I have two questions left. One is, if you've worked with a web designer before, what was your number one frustration? It's more about the psychology of setting up for them this idea that I will be a quality freelancer to work with because I care about their priorities and I care about making sure that they have a good experience. So usually I don't think it's going to take people too long to answer a brief question like this, but I think it sends a good signal to them. It's also good for me because in business, the best thing you can do for your own business is just collect really high quality testimonials. You can't do that if you don't know what your client is prioritizing or what frustrates them. So this question is really just designed to give me information and also to position me as someone who really wants to make sure they have a good experience. And then lastly, I have another qualifying question. Are you ready to move forward within the next 30 days if the proposal feels right? So just like this cost question up here, this is the other question that I feel is quite essential. I think that if someone were to click no, it would only be in certain situations that I might figure, okay, we can still have a quick call, but I'm not going to spend too much time with them unless they start changing their mindset a little bit about this. Because in reality, if I'm getting too many calls and people aren't ready to actually buy something, then I want to start just declining all appointments like this if someone clicks no. But usually people will actually click yes, or they'll at least click maybe. And I think that also sends a good signal for the client who's booking that they want to be serious themselves. So I think it's starting to put them in the right mindset, the mindset of, we're going to meet, we're going to figure this out, and then we're actually going to execute on it, assuming it's a good fit. So those are the questions I have, and that's the logic behind all of them. Now, I want to show you the actual conversation that I had in ChatGPT, which might be interesting for you when you want to set up your own discovery call. I started out with basically the goal of keeping this whole form under 4 minutes for someone to complete. And then I just kind of brainstormed what kinds of questions I want to ask people. And I got some feedback from ChatGPT on, some light tweaks. So we want lower friction, more usable insights for sales calls, and avoid questions that sound like pre-qualifying gotchas, especially around money. Now, I was using a chat bot that is from a course I bought called the Profitable Website Launchpad, which is offered by Wes McDowell. If you buy either that course or some other course, you may get access to some kind of custom GPT that's going to have some good insights. If you haven't bought something like that, you can always just start your prompt with an instruction to ChatGPT, which will usually say something like this, like, act as a marketing expert and give me candid feedback on my suggestions and ideas. If you frame your whole inquiry with that at the front, that's going to tell ChatGPT that it needs to get in the mindset of this kind of person to give you effective feedback and to challenge you a little bit if you suggest something that's not the right way to go. So then anyway, this chatbot gave me back this revised form structure, and they broke down my questions into a few different categories. And then next I asked, what should I put in the description field of my Calendly discovery call appointment? And then I also asked, is this a good title for the call? And it gave me some ideas. And then it said, if you want to keep it short and classy, stick with your original. This is like a classic way to title a call. I just wanted to emphasize value, and I think that's why in the end I chose website strategy consultation. instead. But anyway, you'll see ChatGPT's feedback, you'll see the description they wrote, and I always encourage people, like, really challenge ChatGPT. Don't just take the first output that you get from it. So I challenged it. I said, this is so generic right here. And then it said, yeah, I totally agree. And then they said it defaulted to agency speak. This is a huge vulnerability when you're working with a chatbot. It is basically programmed to give you generic stuff. You have to push it to stop being generic. Then I responded back, what do most website design clients want to talk about in the discovery call? What do they want to get out of the call? And then it gave me some sort of psychology insights. Now, I could have used deep research if I wanted to. In this case, I just kind of wanted to get this task done. But this would have actually been a decent question to consider using the deep research function on if you want to really learn more. And deep research, by the way, is going to have ChatGPT actually research Reddit threads or other forums on the internet to find out what people are saying. So it's not just going to make assumptions, it's going to actually do research and then give you answers based on the research. But I thought this was good enough. It kind of just used its own kind of common sense to answer me on those questions. And then I just prompted it, please write a better description with the above in mind. We're targeting smart people, and I don't want to talk down to them. So the key thing that I'm doing here with prompting is I get ChatGPT to do some actual thinking about what's my customer psychology. And then after it does the thinking, then I challenge it to do the right. By breaking it up into two separate prompts, I get one prompt that's going to get a bunch of tokens allocated to it to do some thinking about the customer psychology. Then I do another prompt where I get all those tokens allocated towards actually writing something that sounds good based on the customer psychology. So that's just a prompting tip. And you can see I'm really getting a lot warmer right here, closer to what I wanted. I had an issue with the tone, and I asked it to be more intelligent, less casual. And the reason for that is that I'm really looking for high-value clients. I'm looking at this point in my career for more serious clients who are building a larger enterprise and are not necessarily just small and scrappy. I am still happy to work with small and scrappy people, but I want my positioning to focus on those bigger budget, bigger vision clients. So then they gave me this. And one thing you'll often get with more intelligent, less casual copywriting is something that's a little bit longer. That's kind of one of the trade-offs. And then I said, that sounds good. What event name aligns with this? And that's where it suggested strategic website discovery call. And it gave me a few other options. And I chose website strategy consultation. I thought this one sounded good. You'll notice when ChatGPT gives you suggestions, usually the top suggestions are at the top of the list. And then I asked what other features could I include as checkboxes under this question. And that was basically brainstorming what to put over here under this question of what features matter most to you. And it gave me a lot of ideas. I don't want the client to feel overwhelmed with this question. In fact, over time, I might actually remove this question and move it over to my discovery call. I'm not entirely sold on this yet myself. I'm going to see how it goes. But you want to be wary of putting in too many questions or too long of questions or questions that are going to require too much thinking because we want people to complete the form. And that's basically it, because as you can see, I moved on to my next task in this conversation. This is a conversation, by the way, where I did all the work of setting up my new website, which I'm currently building, and the funnel that I'm building for this. So I think one other thing I want to show you just before I wrap up the call is, what context are these going to live in? There's two main contexts where I see people are going to schedule a call with you. One is they come to your website and then they click on this button here, your main call to action, to schedule a call. Usually you'll have that right here in your hero section, and you'll have it in the upper right corner. So there's two ways for people to schedule a call. And usually you want to take people straight to your contact page. Then on your contact page, you want to have something that promotes the call that's available. And then you want to have an embed on the right of your calendar. In this particular case, I chose to leave off the details on what appointment this is, including the website strategy name and the description, because I wanted people to get straight over here to this calendar. I figure they already know who I am and what I'm doing because they're on my website. They already know whether they want to get this call based on what I wrote here about what they're going to get out of the call. So they really, on my website, they just need to choose the day and the time and then they need to answer the questions and submit, right? So there is a way inside Calendly to set that up. Basically, inside website strategy consultation, if I click share and then I click add to website in the upper right corner, next I'm going to click inline embed if I want this to be right there in line on the web page, not a pop-up. Next I'm going to click continue, and then I have the option to hide the cookie banner, which is really useful because I don't think you want to bother people with a pop-up at a time like this. And then also I can click hide event type details. And when you click that, it's just basically removing some code. Now, the other context in which you might share your calendar is, you have been introduced over email to someone, or you are having a conversation and it seems like someone could use a website. So you send them the calendar link and then they book over there. So in this context, I certainly want to show the details about my name, my photo, my title, and a description of this. So in wrapping up, I'm always thinking about how can I improve, and I don't like to think of these things as locked off. I want to see how things go. I've seen people do really long descriptions, really short ones. This one's, I think, in the medium range. I am curious someday if maybe a shorter one might make sense. I'm also curious if at some point I want to test removing one or two of these questions. That way I can just get the essentials, and then I can ask these questions in a discovery call. So I'm just going to wrap up really quick. That is my process for a discovery call, and I hope it's helpful to you as you set up your own discovery calls for your own business.